So Lance, you've just been named CEO of Union Pacific. How is it different running the whole company, being the leader of the whole company, rather than being a senior level executive?
As CEO, you speak with a megaphone, which can be really helpful. The problem is the megaphone's always on every word that you say, right? So you have to be really careful.
A lot more responsibility.
Yeah, and you have to be very careful in terms of how you take that responsibility and craft the words to have the intended impact, the intended outcome, the intended influence, and try to minimize the unintendeds, which are always there.
So what do you think it takes to be an effective leader?
I used to think leadership was owning the outcome, own the task, own the work, and that's not right. Leadership is owning how the team is organized, how the team is oriented, and understanding the objective, making sure all the tools are there so that the objective can be reached, and crafting that path with the team. There's a lot of voices that can have a real solid impact on outcomes, and it's not the leader that does that, it's the group that does that.
So you're just beginning as CEO, and you're going to have several years of this tenure as CEO.
Mm-hmm.
What do you hope to accomplish at Union Pacific, let's say 10 years from now?
Yeah. So when I first got the job, or was first thinking about it, I was worried I had to compete with my predecessors. We've had a 10-year run of spectacular results. What I've come to realize is my job isn't to compete against our historic track record. My job is to help the team take the current franchise, our current business, and make the most out of it.
Now, before you came to Union Pacific, you worked at a number of other companies, including General Electric,
Mm-hmm.
Cooper Industries, and others. And those companies at the time you were there were going through some transitions and some traumatic experiences. What did you learn from those experiences that have influenced your leadership style?
What comes to mind is my first job at GE. I was on the job a week, learned we had to close the shop. So my job became helping that team navigate that change with dignity, maintaining their respect, being proud of the work that they did, and knowing that a year from now we were going to close the shop, so that they had to figure out what their next step in their life was going to be. And that taught me all about building trust bonds, building respect bonds, and just being human.
And now you're at Union Pacific, which has a completely different ethos where a lot of the employees are long timers, 25, 30, 50 years.
Yeah.
How is that different leading a group like that?
Oh, it's so cool. That is such a blessing. You can't imagine how great it is to have a team that wants to work for your company for 5 decades. And that's very common for us.
Does it make it harder or easier for you to make changes and for them to follow your lead?
Makes it an awesome responsibility not to screw up.